use in future years. If you are a community member and you haven't RSVP'd, a reminder that we have an ongoing RSVP form. We check the numbers each week to make sure we have enough seats. So please fill out the RSVP form if you haven't already. You can mark all the lectures you plan to come to the whole semester, and that way we can make sure we have enough space. A couple other announcements. We are doing some free rides between Detroit and Ann Arbor to make sure that we can have space for our Detroit community partners. If you're interested in riding from Detroit, please contact Kabibi for details. A few events coming up. The Michigan Food and Farming Systems, MIFS, is going to be held in Kalamazoo on Saturday, February 8th. The Local Food Summit 2020 is going to be held at Washtenaw Community College on March 9th. We can also post these on Canvas for anyone who's interested and it doesn't have enough time to write down the URLs. And then the Detroit Food Summit, which Winona talked a little bit about on the first week, is going to be held on March 12th and March 13th. I think this is one of our volunteer opportunities, so if you're interested and want to earn some extra credit for the class, this would be a great opportunity. So again, a quick thank you to our sponsors. And then on to our speaker. So are there any questions about class or space or Canvas or anything about logistics related to the course before we move on? If anyone is still on the wait list, you should have been given permission to enroll. We have allowed basically all students who are on the wait list for any 4 of the sections to enroll in the course. So if you're still on the wait list and you're not sure, please come talk to me or one of the GSIs after class. So today we're thrilled to welcome our speaker, Paku Hang. Paku is the child of Hmong refugees. She was born in Thailand, and she moved to the US within the first weeks of her life. And she's lived in Georgia, Rhode Island, and Wisconsin. She was the first Hmong student to attend Yale, and she studied political science. She's the co-founder and longtime executive director of the Hmong American Farmers Association, which is a 155-acre research and incubator farm 15 miles south of St. Paul, Minnesota, also called HAFEZ for short. So HAFEZ is a nonprofit member-based farming organization that supports Hmong farmers and builds community wealth. The Hmong farmers account for more than half the produce sold in St. Paul's farmers markets, and they help bring several fruits and vegetables to the food movement. So recently, she stepped down from her position as executive director at HAFEZ, turning the reins over to her brother, Jansen Hang. She's now the chief program officer at Vote, Run, Lead in New York and commutes between Minnesota and New York. So let me see if this works. I have a quick iClicker question, so get your iClickers out. Which of the following statements about Paku is false? Growing up, her parents owned a Chinese restaurant. She hated farming as a kid. Her favorite vegetable is bok choy. And she ran a successful political campaign for her cousin for the Minnesota State Legislature. Okay, so it looks like we have most of our votes in. The statement that's false, that I completely made up, is C. Her favorite vegetable is bok choy. So please help me welcome Paku Hang.
You know, it's funny. Good evening, you guys. It's funny because I think I would have answered that wrong. I was like, I don't think we ever owned a Chinese restaurant. And I was like, oh my God, that's why we moved to Minnesota. So, so I would have gotten the question about my biography wrong too. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you. So before I begin, I just want to thank Cindy and Lily and Erica for this invitation to be here and and to be among such a distinguished list of speakers in the Food Literacy for All series. So thank you. And I also want to thank the University of Michigan, and in particular the Sustainable Food Systems Initiative, for their support. But most importantly, I want to thank all of you, the students, the food system leaders, the activists, the academics. I want to thank you for being curious and engaged and willing to come tonight and listen to whatever wisdom I may impart. My understanding is that this talk is going to have an interactive component. So I'm going to ask some questions, and then you all are going to do that quiz. My understanding is that I'm going to say a couple of words or make some remarks, and then we'll open up the latter half of the time for some Q&A. Does that sound good? So to get this tested, the first question that I want to ask, is that going to work? Great. Okay. Oh, so should I just ask the question? Okay.
Let's see if it's in there. Did you do it? Yeah.
Okay, great. So the first question is, who has heard about Hmong people? Press A if you've heard about Hmong people, Hmong history, and press B if you're like, who are the Hmong? Okay, great. Great. So I think it sounds like you guys, some of you will be learning some new things about Hmong people. And just a quick story, when I went to Yale, I would say, oh, I'm Hmong. And people were like, oh, so what is like Mongolia like? And I was like, oh, no, I'm Hmong from Laos. So it's always really funny. So my name is Pak Khu Heng, and I'm the co-founder, like Cindy said, I'm one of the co-founders of the Hmong American Farmers Association, also known as HAFA. For the past 8 years, I was also HAFA's founding executive director. We are a membership-based organization in St. Paul, Minnesota, that works with over 100 Hmong farmers in the Twin Cities metropolitan area. Despite their hard work and vast experiences, Hmong farmers continue to be disadvantaged when accessing farmland, new markets besides the farmers markets, capital, credit, research, and training programs compared to their other white vegetable, fruit, and flower growers. Based on our research, the average Hmong farmer earned only 65% of what other white vegetable farmers in Minnesota were earning, and we think this was unacceptable. HAFA was created to foster equity in the food and farming systems, to dramatically change the landscape for Minnesota Hmong farmers. Our mission is to advance economic through, can you guys hear me? Sorry. Through policy and systems change, community engagement and advocacy, and individual capacity building, so that our farmers can grow their own intergenerational and community wealth. Now, we believe that good attendance alone will never get our farmers to parity with other white farmers, and that a just and equitable food and farming system demands a shift in power. And thus, our theory of change is rooted in a whole foods model, which asserts that all aspects of the food and farming systems, land, markets, capital, training, research, all of that must be simultaneously and freely accessible to immigrant farmers to truly build intergenerational and community wealth. Now, people often ask us, how will you know that you've been successful? And we often respond, we will know that we've been successful when we have organized ourselves out of a job. And we believe we will get there one day. We truly do, because of these three things. First, we use community organizing tactics that are fundamentally about people coming into their own political consciousness. Second, we work with whole families and cohorts of farmers because systems change requires masses of people organized. And lastly, we bring people together because change will never come without a collective consciousness. My presence with you here tonight is the extension of what I believe is my spiritual work. And because no one is free when others are shackled. So again, I thank you for this special invitation. When Cindy and Lily first emailed me to see if I would speak and be a part of this series, I was actually going to turn them down. Honestly, given this political climate and the many hateful acts and speeches we've been witnessing and the cowardice of some of our leaders, I really felt like I didn't have anything to contribute. I really question I have a belief that people at the end of the day are good, and I've really been, that belief has been really tested these past couple of years. So honestly, I was gonna say no until a few days after I got the email. I met this couple, June and Angie Provost, and they were the ones that changed my mind and made me decide to come here tonight. So June and Angie are sugarcane growers in Louisiana. And if you listen to the New York Times 1916 episode, podcast, episode 5, it's called The Land of Our Fathers. How many people actually listened to that? Okay, that was powerful, wasn't it? Who here thought that was powerful? Or was that moving? So if you listen to the podcast, you know a little bit about their story, but let me give you kind of like the short end of it, right? So June comes from a long line of really tough black farmers in Louisiana. And he was on his way to becoming a really successful farmer as well until he started talking about how black farmers were being treated in his area, right? And then suddenly his loans, which were critical for him because he needed them to buy his seeds, to plant his sugarcane, they started coming in late. And he started getting approved for only really low prices for his sugarcane. And then suddenly his cat started getting shot at, his tires were slashed, the oil would be drained from his tank. And so all these things kept happening, and he could barely make it. And when I met June and Angie back in April, when they were telling me about what was happening now, I was just speechless because I couldn't believe that this was happening in America. And I kept thinking, June, who is someone who's my age, right? I kept thinking, June, who is so knowledgeable, he comes from such a long line of people who are doing this work. He has such a loving family. I mean, his wife, Angie, is so steadfast. Like, if he can't survive in this environment, who can? And it made me think a lot about what does it mean to have deep roots? And that's something that I want to talk to you guys about tonight, right? In order for there to be truly a just and equitable food and farming system, what must we do to go beyond the deep roots? Because June was someone who had a lot of deep roots, and he still couldn't make it in that ecosystem, right? So what is it going to take not only to survive in a system like that, but to thrive? And that's what I want to talk to you all about tonight. And I want to do that by first telling you a little bit about myself, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about HAFA and the work that we do. And then I want to end with some of the lessons and like my own, for what it's worth, my own kind of conclusion on what we must do to not only strive, but to thrive in this environment. So I want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself, that I'm Hmong American. I'm the daughter of Pua Tao Hang and Wanger Hang, or Vanza Han. I have 3 sisters, Kanyang, Lillian, and Amy, and 3 brothers, Peter, Jansen, and Joseph Paul, which is so weird because my name is Paku, and then they have all these other names that sound very white, like Lillian or JP. I was born in a refugee camp in northern Thailand. My father had been a captain in the Royal Lao Army, which had allied with the United States during the Secret War. And so this is my second question to you all. Who has heard about the Secret War? Press A for yes and B for no. So who has heard about the Secret War? It was a secret, right? Okay, great. Well, in order for you to really understand what the Secret War was, let me start off by telling you a little bit about Hmong culture and Hmong history, right? The Hmong people are indigenous to southern China, but began migrating to Southeast Asia in the late 18th century. Many Hmong people settled in Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia. So they really were kind of a landless people, a countryless people. In the 1960s and during the Vietnam War, the Hmong in Laos were recruited by the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, to help the U.S. patrol sections of the Ho Chi Minh Trail that ventured into Laos and to rescue American pilots in the Laotian Plains of Jars. So that whole campaign was known as the Secret War because technically the United States wasn't supposed to be in Laos. Because back in 1954, they had signed this international Geneva Accord that said that they wouldn't be involved militarily in any parts of Laos. So because they were violating that international agreement, this was known as, that whole incident, that all those activities were known as the Secret War. So that's what the United States and the Hmong people were engaged in. And after the Vietnam War ended, and after the US left, in Laos there was a coup d'etat, and the communist faction came into power. And when they came into power, they were reminded of all the Hmong people who had helped the United States. And so what they started doing is they started rounding up all these Hmong families and putting them into re-education camps. And thousands of Hmong families tried to flee Laos, and the ones who were lucky enough were able to cross over to the Mekong River and come into Thailand. And in Thailand, there were these refugee camps that were set up by the international community, and so the Hmong folks could go to these refugee camps and they could apply for political asylum. And many of them, luckily, were able to cross the Mekong River and get into Thailand, but a lot of people died. In fact, they say that 1/3 of the people who tried to escape died in the rivers of the Mekong River. And so even nowadays, as a Hmong person, when we go and visit Thailand, all the elders always say, don't put your hand into the Mekong River, because all the spirits that drowned in that river, they'll pull you down. So I was always so scared, and I was like, I'm not going to touch any water. So, as I said before, many of the Hmong people were applying for political refugee. And to be deemed a political refugee, right, you had to be someone who could not go back to their country of origin for fear of social and political persecution and death. And I just want to deviate a little bit to say that I know that political refugees is a term that's used a lot nowadays. There's a lot of issues that are coming up, and people don't quite understand what political refugees are. But these are people who literally cannot go back to their country of origin because they will be killed. And that holds a unique place in international law. And for me and my family, we were applying for this status because if we'd gone back, my father especially would have been killed because of his alliance with the United States. But because of all of that, nowadays, there are Hmong people in Argentina, in Australia, in Canada, in China, in Denmark, in France, in French Guyana, and of course, in the United States. And actually, your neighbors to the east, right? Your neighbors to the west, east of us, your neighbors to the west, Wisconsin and Minnesota, are actually two states that have some of the largest population of Hmong people in the United States. So when we immigrated to this country, my mom and my dad went immediately to work. And they did all types of like weird jobs, right? They made jewelry, they dug for worms, they waited on tables, and they would work 10 to 12-hour shifts. And then we also grew our own vegetables, and my parents never bought any new shoes or any new clothes because they were always just saving money for the family. So back in Laos, all the rich families, they sent their kids to parochial school. And when we came to the United States, my parents wanted to have a better life for us. And they said the way that we were going to do that is by getting a really good education. And in their mind, that meant going to Catholic schools. But the Catholic schools were very expensive, and we really couldn't afford it on my dad's, salary at my dad's hourly wages actually at the airport. So we started renting land and growing vegetables, and the money that we made from the farmers market went to pay for the tuition of the private schools that we went to. And so my mom and my dad would work 50-hour days, and then we would still do the paper route. And in the afternoon, the whole family would get in the car, and we would go to the fields, and that's when we would pick the cucumbers or the string beans, which were the worst, or dig up the potatoes and wash them. And we would work late into the night, maybe like 12 or 1 o'clock before we would come home and rest and then go to work the next day. And some of my earliest memories of middle school was in August, where because my parents didn't speak English, I would take all the money because I would pay the first installment of the tuition. And I remember I would have to pay in $1 bills because that's the currency that we would get at the farmer's market. So I have this vivid memory of counting out 100 and then 100 and 100 because that's what we had to do. So that was my childhood. So that's actually how we got into farming. And I would tell you, as Cindy said, I hated it. Right? I applied to every summer enrichment program, every summer internship. I was like, Mom, no, this is really important for getting into college. I did everything that I could do to not have to work in the fields in the summertime. And in my mind, I felt like success was an air-conditioned job, because then I wouldn't have to be in the heat in the summertime. But because I loved my family and because we needed the money, all of us were always in the field. And I think that, looking back, those days were what forged us to be the kind of people we are right now. I mean, my family's very close, we're very loving, we're also very hardworking and very entrepreneurial, and I think a lot of that is because of what we had to do to survive in those early years, and especially because farming does not take any prisoners. If you don't weed that week, it will be worse, and then you've lost your crop, right? Like it waits for no one. And so I think a lot of my sense of urgency and kind of my can-do spirit comes from those early years. And I think that on one hand, people could also argue that our family has, achieved the American dream, if you believe the American dream is still possible. Because of that schooling, we all went to college, we all went to grad school, we all own our own homes, and we're all professionally fine right now. But going to Catholic school and having that education really seared in me this idea that to those that much is given, much is asked of. And that was really, for me, the impetus for starting HAFEZ. And so in Minnesota, right, most Hmong people live in the Twin Cities, metropolitan area, and many of the Hmong folks farm. Farming was attractive to Hmong families because the parents didn't speak English, and they didn't have the skills for the post-industrialized society, but they had families. Right? They had a lot of workers, and they knew how to farm, and they weren't afraid of hard work. I used to joke that I joined a union when I was in 6th grade because my mom and my dad would make the kids work so hard, and so we would protest, and we formed our own union, and we would have these chants like, solidarity, solidarity, because we were fighting against my parents. Right? But that's what a lot of Hmong families did. And nowadays, St. Paul and Minneapolis, right, Hmong farmers are synonymous with farmers markets. They are the main producers of fresh produce in the urban farming community, and they are the drivers of local food and the metropolitan movement. According to the Hmong Chamber of Commerce, the Hmong community in Minnesota have a purchasing power of over $500 million, and a lot of that has to do with the financial success of Hmong farmers. So how did HAFEZ get started, right? In the summer of 2011, I was awarded a fellowship to study the challenges and opportunities facing Hmong farmers in Minnesota. And if you will recall, this was right after the Great Recession, right? And so tons of folks are starting to grow their own food, trying to save some money. They were going to the farmer's market, trying to get cheaper food. And I thought this was a great thing. And so I was starting this fellowship, and I went around all these farmers that I'd grown up with. And I said, isn't this great? Like, there are so many people coming to the farmer's market. Aren't you making more money? And over, I kept hearing from farmers, well, actually, we're not making more money. That there are so many more farmers markets now, we're actually making less money than we did even 2 or 3 years ago. And I couldn't understand that. And so I wanted to investigate why was there this paradox, right? So I went around and I started talking to all these Hmong farmers, and I started recording their stories. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I'm going to share with you a couple of these stories. One of them that really stuck in my mind was the story about how a bunch of Hmong farmers were renting land from this white landowner. He had like 300 acres. And they would rent land from him at $300 an acre, which was 3 times what other white farmers were being charged. But this white landowner said, you can rent land from me at $300 an acre. There's no infrastructure. There's no water. But he said, I'll rent you the land, but you have to also allow that my family and my grandma and grandpa can come on your land whenever they want to and take whatever they want to free of charge. And I was like, why did you do that? I kind of got mad at the farmer. Like, why did you do that? I mean, he's clearly exploiting you. And this farmer said, well, that was the only land that was close enough to us, to the Twin Cities. And it made me think, looking back now, it made me think about how easy it is for us to blame the victim, right? Why, you were drunk. Why did you walk out late at night, right? Or why did you do this, that? When the problem, the harm was from that white farmer who what he was doing was totally wrong, right? So that was one of the stories that really seared in my mind. Another story was from this auntie, and she was so happy because she said, this is in southern Minnesota. She said, I'm so happy because I can rent this land for only $100. And it was organic land, right? So the soil was supposed to be premium. And she said, and all I have to do is pay him $100, and then for every 5 things, I just have to give him 2 of the 5. I said, well, I don't understand, auntie. She goes, well, think about it. If I grow 5 tomatoes, I just have to give him 2 of the 5. I said, but you're paying the land, and then you have to give him some of your production? And she said, yeah, isn't that great? And I just couldn't understand it until I was talking to a Hmong legislator. And she had grown up in Minnesota, and she said, actually, Paku, this is like an unknown history, but in southern Minnesota, where this Hmong farmer was farming, in southern Minnesota, we have a history of sharecropping. So this Hmong farmer didn't even know that this white landowner was revitalizing sharecropping. Right? She thought it was like a good thing, which I think, again, is like to the evilness of, racism, right? But that's another story that seared in my mind. There was another story, one final story I'll share with you, about So Ning. And I know So Ning a lot because So Ning farmed, but he was like one of these Hmong guys that could actually speak English pretty well. And he told me the story about how when he started farming, he got in touch with a restaurant, an ethnic restaurant that was near a school, McAllister. Who's here at McAllister College? Right, in St. Paul. So he said, oh, great, I'm going to sell them all these herbs to this ethnic restaurant. And he was selling them for $1 a bunch. And as he was dropping off, each week he would drop off the herbs. And as he was dropping off, he saw some of these McAllister students who were also starting to farm. And he said, oh, you guys are doing herbs too. And then he found out from them that they were getting paid $2 a bunch. And actually his herbs, he said, Paku, there were more of my herbs than theirs. But they were getting $2 a bunch, and I was only getting $1. So he went to the restaurant owner. He said, you don't have to give me $2, but at least could you increase it to $1.50 because I'm losing money by selling these bunches to you for only $1. And he said that the restaurant owner was so upset that So Ning had the audacity to question him. He terminated So Ning's contract right there. All right, so these were the stories that I was hearing, and they made me so mad. And then on top of that, in the fall of 2012, there was this social investor conference that was happening. And I was asked to organize a bunch of Hmong farmers to be part of a panel, and we could share with these social investors what they could do to help immigrant farmers. And it was awesome. We did the panel. There was kind of like this, tons of people there. And after everybody left, like a good organizer, I turned around and I said, what went well and what can be improved? And I remember distinctly, there was this older Hmong woman, and she stood up, and she said, we have to stop waiting for someone to come and save us. We can save ourselves. And that was literally on a Thursday night. And then Tuesday, the next week, I was at the Minnesota Secretary of State's office, and I was registering HAFA to be its own entity. And so this is how HAFA started, right? Both my sense of guilt, but also a deep sense of self-determination. That we don't have to wait for someone to come and save us, we can save ourselves. So, what does HAFEZ do, right? Our mission is to advance the economic prosperity of our farmers through policy and systems change, through community engagement and advocacy, and through individual capacity building so that our farmers can grow intergenerational and community wealth. HAFEZ's main goals are to make sure our farmers have deep roots, right? Deep roots. Strong skills, robust social capital among the community, and a deep sense that they can make a difference. It's what we call self-efficacy. In order to make that happen programmatically, HAFA focuses in 4 key areas. Number 1 is land access. We manage a 155-acre farm that's about 25 minutes outside of St. Paul. We call this farm the HAFA farm. On that farm, we grow, we have all the infrastructure our farmers need. So we have an agricultural well, we have an irrigation system. We also have, for every 5-acre plot, there's a spigot of water. So our farmers can actually have access to water in their fields. We have a packing shed with water systems so they can rinse and wash their produce. And then we have a walk-in cooler that they can put their produce in the cooler. And I just want to say, this is really phenomenal, actually, because think about it in the kind of the peak of summer, right? When your beans are coming in and it's so hot outside. If you don't have a cooler, you have to pick all your beans and then you have to sell them. And if you don't sell them, you bring them back without a cooler, then the humidity and the moisture will just rot your beans, right? It'll actually create this gray web of mold. And so you just lost your produce. So what you have to do is you sell it and then you lower the price really low so you can move the beans. But if you have a cooler, that totally changes the game, right? Because you can pick all the string beans, put them in the cooler, hold that price at $3 a pound, which is nothing, hold that price and keep selling it, and your beans are not necessarily rotting. So having a cooler can increase farmer sales on that product by over 500%. right? But most people didn't have access to a cooler because a cooler is like crazy expensive to put in. On the farm, we also have our staff, and we have experts that come in that provide technical assistance to our farmers. We also train our farmers on the farm around sustainable agricultural practices. We have actually 2 high tunnels where we do demonstration plots on them. And annually, we welcome over 1,000 students and community members and professionals to learn about our farmers and their sustainable agricultural practices. And I want to tell you this one story. In Hmong culture, traditionally, Hmong women never went to school, right? And so at the farm, we had a site visit, and we had an economist and agronomist from the University of Minnesota and from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. And they were there, and they were visiting a farmer's plot. And we had this older Hmong woman who'd never gone to school, and she was growing Brussels sprouts. And they asked her, they said, oh, Mrs. Vang, like, why are your Brussels sprouts spaced out so far? And she said, well, you know, I've been growing Brussels sprouts, and I knew that my customers wanted the big buds, right? They wanted bigger buds. And when I first started growing them, I noticed that the only stalks that had big buds, I have to be careful how I say that, don't I? Big buds, were the ones that were on the outer edges. And she said, so every year after that, I started spacing them out to see if I would get big buds on my stalks. And the economist was laughing, and the agronomist was laughing, because he said, you know, actually, it's funny you say that, because actually Brussels sprouts are a plant that they need air circulation. That the actual airflow is what tickles the bud to grow. And so this woman who had never gone to school was naturally a scientist, experimenting, right? So that's what we do on the farm. We both not only, you know, create opportunities for our farmers to learn, but we are also sharing that there are different ways of knowledge, right? And different ways of knowing. And that just because people don't speak English or read and write English doesn't mean that they're dumb. Secondly, we have a really robust business development program where we coordinate with our partners like Ridgewater College or Eastside Financial Center and the Minnesota Department of Agriculture to provide our farmers and their children with financial counseling, farm business management, and business plan writing workshops, and to access crop insurance and microloans. Since the inception of this HAFEZ program, our farmers have saved over $60,000 in individual development accounts, and they've leveraged that money to purchase over $300,000 worth of farm assets. Thirdly, what we do is we provide our farmers with research and training. So we developed a robust bi-module, bilingual, and bicultural training program for our beginning farmers. And annually, we conduct these trainings from November to April. These training programs include topics like soil health, break-even analysis, which basically is like how much should you charge your green beans, right, to at least break even. And then we also help them on new things like growing tomatoes or certain crops in high tunnels. We also work with our partners from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture and the B Lab at the university to do kind of cutting edge research. So for the past 5 years, we've been involved in a research project on the effects of water, the effects of cover crops on water and soil quality. We were looking at the effects of climate change and pest migration by having these weird stickers all throughout the farm. And the stickers where the pest would come through, they would get stuck to the stickers. And every month, there were these folks from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture would come, and they would see what kind of plants were on these stickers. It was actually really disgusting. But it was important because we had such a big farm, and there were all these pests that were migrating, and we wanted to know what was the effect of climate change on their migration. And then lastly, we were focused on alternative markets. So basically markets besides the farmers markets. We ran a food hub, and we trained our farmers on food safety and good agricultural practices, then aggregated their produce for sales to 24 school districts, 12 early child learning centers, 5 restaurants, and 4 grocery stores. We also ran a unique workplace community-supported agricultural program and a healthcare-based clinic, a CSA program called VegRx. In that program, we delivered CSA boxes to healthcare clinics where food insecure families could pick them up. And this was especially important to us because many of these food insecure families were recent refugees. And if you think about it, when you go to a clinic or a healthcare place, it's always negative, right? The same way like people hate going to the dentist, it's always something bad. And we wanted to change that because for many of these families, their relationship with their healthcare provider would be some of the most important relationships they had. And so we wanted to make sure that when they went to the clinic, it wasn't always negative, that we could change the association, that it would be positive. And also, we wanted to make sure that people had access to food that was culturally appropriate. Because many of these folks would have access to the food shelves, but most of the food shelves were like, they had like powdered potatoes, right? Or they would have something like, I don't know, peanut butter. And many of these Karen or Hmong or Burmese refugees never had peanut butter. You know, they would definitely never cook potatoes from a powder form. And so we wanted these CSA boxes to be also culturally appropriate and really build social capital in the healthcare community. And after 3 years, we did an analysis of that program, and we found that for every dollar that was invested in our CSA VegRx program, we saw an additional $16.23 of additional economic activity. And so our farmers were not only developing deep roots and building intergenerational wealth for their families, but they were truly creating community wealth and community health in the greater Twin Cities communities. So we truly believe that by ensuring the economic prosperity of our farmers, we can support and increase the supply of healthy food available for all, but especially low-income families in the metro area, and contribute to a more just and sustainable food and farming economy. But that's not to say that everything was wonderful. We encountered a lot of obstacles along the way that really illustrated the point I'm wanting to make tonight, that we can have deep roots, right? So we can be really good farmers, we can have deep roots, we can have a lot of strong relationships among each other, but if we're not paying attention to our ecosystem, if we're not paying attention to what's happening around us, we could actually lose everything. And I want to share with you some of these examples. So this makes me think specifically about incident in St. Paul in 2015, when the city council, in an effort to raise funds, installed parking meters along a busy corridor that was actually right next to a very affluent neighborhood. And when the neighbors in that neighborhood found out about all these parking lots, they were extremely upset. They literally stormed a city council meeting and they demanded that the parking meters be taken out. And actually that's what happened. But the city still needed money. And so what did the city do? They decided to put parking meters all along or all around the St. Paul Farmers Market. Because the St. Paul Farmers Market, I mean, like, this is so good because the St. Paul Farmers Market has like 20 to 30,000 people come downtown every week to shop. So this is where we can definitely make money. St. Paul Farmers Market is also predominantly Hmong, right? And so what did we see happen? We actually saw anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20% decrease in people coming to the farmers market because of these parking lots. Because at least in Minnesota, no one wanted to pay for parking meters. I don't know if that's the case here. And so that was an unintended consequence, right? But who did it hurt? It really hurt the Hmong farmers. It makes me think about another issue that we had with St. Paul and parking in 2016. So the city of St. Paul has an ordinance or a law which banned commercial vehicles from being parked on residentially zoned streets, right? So now this is really problematic because many Hmong farmers drive these box trucks, right? And the box trucks are really important because they use the box trucks to load and unload all their fresh produce, and they drive the box trucks all around town to go and set up at the farmers market, right? So this is like a critical part of their business. And the box truck under that St. Paul law is considered a commercial vehicle. So theoretically, the Hmong family could not park their truck just for like a couple hours. They certainly couldn't park their truck overnight, even if the truck was right in front of their house, right? They couldn't because that street was a residential street. And this is actually creating a problem for our Hmong farmers because they were saying they were getting ticketed and it was costing them over $1,000 to not only go and get their truck from the impound lot, but then to pay the fee, and then they were losing all the value of the produce that was in that truck. And this whole thing usually takes a whole day, so they also lost a whole day in the peak of their season. And they were coming to us and say, hey, can you guys do something about this? And so, okay, we said, yeah, let's try this. What can we do? And so we reached out to the president of the city council, and we said, hey, actually, you know, this parking ordinance, you guys give a lot of special exemptions to people under this law. You give an exemption to bus drivers so they can have lunch and they can park their truck in front of their house. You actually give an exemption to folks who have RVs, right, recreational vehicles. As long as that vehicle is specially licensed, you say it's okay for them to park outside. So why not allow that for Hmong farmers? And we were saying, and you don't even have to do it for the whole year. Just allow us that exemption during our peak season, right, from March into November. And then afterwards, we'll go and park it somewhere else. And so the city council president said, okay, that sounds reasonable. I'll make an amendment and I'll put it in front of the city council and see if they'll vote with me on that. And we were like so excited because we thought this is like going to be fine, right? This is not controversial. Other people are getting special treatment already, so why not at least Hmong farmers? And we go to the meeting, and lo and behold, it was the city council member who was of Hmong descent, Dai Tao. He was the one who said, you know what? I think this is fine, but I think we should cap it. I think we should allow this exemption or like this license for only one for each household. And this just blew my mind because in Hmong culture, many families live together in multi-generational households, right? This is partly because of economics, because it's cheaper to live together. It might not be good for like family relations, but it was cheaper. But also traditionally, this is how we did things. This is how like the kids could go to work while the grandparents were taking care of their grandkids, right? This is how you could still live at home, go to work, and go to school and save money. So this was something that was dynamic of Hmong culture, and specifically for Hmong farming families, this is how people did it because farming is so labor intensive. You need to have multi-generations. You have to have a lot of people helping you farm. And you don't make a lot of money. No one gets rich from farming. So they were living in multi-generational households. And on top of that, this blew my mind because the city council was actually not coordinating. They weren't coordinating how farmers markets were springing up. So you saw a lot more farmers markets that were coming up. And so Hmong families, and before, they would go to maybe just the 5 farmers markets that there were, and they would make enough money. But now instead of 5, there might have been 10 or 15 farmers markets because everybody wanted a farmers market in their backyard, right? But they weren't growing the number of people shopping at the farmers markets. So you had maybe just 100 people come to farmers market. You still only had 100, but if you were a farmer at now 15 farmers market, you weren't making a lot more money. And so all the more reason why Hmong families were living in multi-generational households. And within each household, they actually needed maybe 1, 2, 3 trucks. So they could go to all these different farmers markets, which were happening at the same time, and still be making just the same amount of money they were making just a couple years ago. So the Hmong city council member says this, and on record, he said, and the reason why I feel this way is because I don't want the white neighbors to be mad at the Hmong farmers. And because he's Hmong, right? I mean, he knows it because he's Hmong. All of his peers voted unanimously with him. And so the law passed, we got an exemption, but the exemption that came out of it, that it was only going to be for one household. And this has actually, many Hmong farmers talk about how the fear of getting ticketed is one of the reasons why they stopped farming. So that's something that happened that was a real obstacle for us. This also makes me think about how other rules that on the surface are really benign, you know, they're non-controversial, but because of unintended or intentional effects, do a lot of harm to Hmong farmers and to other folks who have been disenfranchised, right? So I think about in 2012, also in Minnesota, there is this township called May Township. And in this township, they actually wanted to kick out Hmong farmers who were renting land from these private landowners, but they didn't really know how to do it. So they came up with this rule that they wanted to pass, a new ordinance. And this rule basically stated that if you were a private landowner and you wanted to rent out your land to small farmers, you had to apply for a permit for plots larger than 5 acres at a maximum of 40 acres. And the ordinance also prohibited activity from a half hour after sunset until 7 a.m. So basically what that meant that is if this law was passed, after sunset, there couldn't be any activities in the field, and that couldn't happen until 7 o'clock in the morning. So, does anybody here farm? Okay, so do you ever farm after sunset? And do you ever farm before 7 a.m.? But that's ideal though, right? Because it's so hot. So you have to farm when it's actually, you can be out there. And so this, in a roundabout way, this ordinance was basically trying to kick off people from Hmong people from farming in this town. This ordinance also included this provision that said that if anybody was going to build a shelter on these rented fields, that it had to comply with the building code, and then it had to be taken down in the wintertime. And so it's super hot and humid. and I'm a Hmong farmer, and there is no way that I can build a little shed or just some kind of ceiling that I can go and rest in the shade and then still take it down in the wintertime. It just adds so much additional work. So this law, at least without the activity curfew, thankfully, but this law passed. And, I don't know how many Hmong farmers have actually lost access to land because the private landowners don't want to engage in all this extra work. In the same way that I don't really know how many Hmong farmers left farming because they couldn't make ends meet because they could only have one box truck, or how many Hmong farmers stopped farming because there were just too many farmers markets and they couldn't make ends meet. We've heard from many other urban farmers and advocacy organizations across the country about similar experiences they've had, like the stories I've shared with you, right? Laws that are seemingly non-controversial, they're seemingly benign, but in their rollout, in their unintended or intended effects, they have really harmed Black, Indigenous, and people of color farmers. So we don't really know how much from the kind of on the municipal level, right? But if we review public policy on the large policy levels, we do know how much these type of laws do affect the wealth disparity in our country, right? Just looking back at major policies like the Indian Removal Act and the Homestead Act of 1862 and the Dawes Act of 1870, when land belonging to Native Americans were taken from them and then given to citizens or future citizens of the U.S., as long as those citizens could improve the land, you can see the wealth that was lost for Native Americans. Looking back, we can see those laws allowed for over 270 million acres of land to be transferred from natives to mostly European Americans, which is over 10% of the entire U.S. land. So my third question to you all is, in current terms, right, 2015, how much do you think 10% of U.S. total land is worth, right? So how much do you think 10% of U.S. total land nowadays? Is it A, $100 billion, B, $1 trillion, or C, $2.3 trillion? You all are very smart. $2.3 trillion. That is what Native Americans lost because of the Indian Removal Act, because of Dawes Act, because of the Homestead Act. According to a recent study by the Racial Wealth Gap, Why Policy Matters by Demos, it's a public policy organization that supports democracy and equality, they argue that the typical Black household now has just 6% of wealth of the typical white household, and the typical Latino household has just 8%. Right, so in absolute terms, the median white household had 111,000 in wealth holdings in 2011, compared to only 7,100 for the median Black household and 8,300 for the median Latino household. I think this is unacceptable. Right? So as farmers and food system leaders, as activists and academics, as people who care about farming and food and justice and equality, what are we to do? How do we have deep roots and still strive, and not just strive, but thrive? In order for there to be truly a just and equitable food and farming system, what must we do to go beyond having just deep roots, right? Just being strong. And my answer to that, however it is, my answer to that is I think we have to make the personal the political. We must not let the cowardice of our leaders defeat us. We must not allow the hatred and dehumanization that we are witnessing silence us. We must vote. We must march. We must educate ourselves, right? We must engage and participate in actions to grow the system and to make it larger for everybody, because as people who care about food, as farmers, as growers, we are the people who take dirt, like literally the leftover stuff. And with some water and some sunlight, we turn it into life. We nurture people, like we literally give life to people. And I feel like, just like June, if we can't survive in this system right now, like no one else can. So what must we do? We have to make the personal the political. We have to get engaged. And I think for me, especially this year, which I'm sure you all are thinking the same way, but we have to vote. And especially in a college campus like this, you all are truly the demographic that's going to matter. Like, you have to tell your friends, your peers, your family members, other people on the college campus, we have to vote and change this around. And so those are my thoughts for what can we do to not only strive, but thrive in this climate. And if anybody has any questions, I guess people can ask. But thank you so much.
If anyone has any questions, raise your hand. I'll come over with the mic.
When you were talking about how in 2012, like there was that law for that private landowners had to get that permit, why would the town or city think that was like smart, even economically speaking? Why would it be smart to take jobs and like money away from the community? How is that logical?
So the question was, why did this township, right, May Township, why did they think that if they were putting more barriers on getting land rented out to Hmong farmers? So basically your question is, why did they do that? Like, didn't they want the land to be rented out so that people could make money and then put that food back into the system and make more money? Like, wasn't that a good thing? What do you think the answer is? They might not care. What else? Do you think that they had this rule? So in farming, right, a lot of people own land and they can't farm. So they constantly rent it out, right? Anybody who farms or people who've done like corn or soybean, you know that oftentimes you're renting other people's land in addition to your own. That was never an issue until all these Hmong farmers started coming on this land. So for me, and maybe I'm being cynical here, but I think what was fueling that is that they didn't like the people who were farming that land. And that's why. And it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But they were so adamant about it. And they passed it.
Sure. My name is Keith Susi. I'm a community member, and I've driven by the farm a number of times. I do a lot of work in Minnesota, and
Awesome.
I'm a total garden nerd, but I was just on the freeway driving by one time, and I'm like, it's a huge piece of land, and it's obviously not farmed with a tractor because that's all individual plots that you can tell are hand farmed. So it caught my attention right away, and I saw the symbol, and I didn't know what it meant, so I looked it up later that night when I was in my hotel. But beautiful farm.
Thank you.
But it's pretty good ways outside the city center where most of the communities live, I believe. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, was that a barrier when you first moved out to that land for those farmers to be able to get to that land, to work it, and then also bring their products to market?
Yeah, great question. So I'm going to answer that in a kind of a roundabout way. I want to tell you guys a story. So, but the heart of the question is the land itself where farmers are farming, it's about 25 minutes outside of the Twin Cities, right? So if you're like a farmer's market farmer, you're going to go to the farmer's market like 2 or 3 times a day. Then you got to go to your fields a couple times a day. So like, isn't this going to be hard? And actually, land in the urban area is so expensive, right? I mean, like, first of all, there is no land in urban areas because all of that is being pushed with development, right, and with housing, which are all really important things. And so our farmers and I think other urban farmers who are really not doing like urban plots, we're doing like 5-acre plots, right? That's the minimum for our farmers. Most are doing 10, sometimes 15 acre plots. So if you want to get that volume, you have to go outside. And this is kind of the weird thing is that because of the Great Recession, the first ring suburbs and the exurbs were prior to 2000, there was so much development happening. Everybody was building all those kind of like modular homes, right? But because of the Great Recession, there was a real pause and that land became available. And so it wasn't like out in rural communities where maybe it's an hour away. It was only half an hour away. So it was better than the alternative. And actually, that's what spurred HAFA. Many of our farmers were really excited about this land because it was closer to the land that they were used to renting. So that was really great. And then they loved it. And what you were alluding to, the land itself is 155 acres, but we've broken it up into 5-acre plots. And our farmers can rent a minimum 1 plot, which is 5 acres, or 2 plot, which is 10 acres. And because they are their own bosses, right? Some farmer might say, okay, in this 5-acre plot, for just like 3 rows, I'm going to plant, let's say, corn. And then going now corn was this way. This way, I'm going to plant, 6 rows of beans. And then I'll do some dill, and then I'll do some squash, and then here I'll do corn again. So they were doing this kind of like hodgepodge of contouring of plants. And actually, from an ecological perspective and from a sustainable agriculture perspective, you want that. Because that contouring, that texturing, when it rains, right, the water is not just flowing down and creating all this erosion. The water is like trying to figure out how to navigate all these different rows. And so the water is actually staying in the soil longer. And because our farmers were not doing monolithic type of farming, they were doing really polycropping, different types of cropping, you just had more diversity. You had all the pests that were different, right? And then many of our farmers would farm where they would plant maybe string beans the first season. They would grow that for maybe 1 month, dig that up, and then the next one they would plant cilantro. And then dig that up, and then they would plant the beans. But this type of bean now was only to keep the seeds. And so in one growing season, they used that land to grow 3 different types of produce, and all that organic matter went back into the soil. And that's really powerful when you compare that to kind of conventional farming, which is the whole, your whole 100 acres, you're only growing string beans. And then you wait until it gets a certain length, and then you take the machine and you till up all of that green bean, and that's it. That's the season, right? And so the way that our farmers were planting was so dynamic, even though many of them had never learned farming. And we would say, well, how did you learn to farm? And they'd be like, that's a weird question. I'd be like, Grandpa, because we're all related. So I say, oh, Grandpa, but I don't understand. Like, how did you learn to put the tomatoes next to the basil? He's like, I don't understand that. And I said, who taught you how to do that? He said, well, I just saw it because my parents and my grandparents, they all did it. So that's just how we did it, right? They didn't have a concept of being taught farming. It was just the way that they did things. So that was really powerful. So that's one way to answer your question. I wanted to answer the other question to say that in Minnesota, we have this law that prohibits more than 5 people who are not related from owning land. And so this is really problematic because land is very expensive. And unless you have a lot of wealth, you almost have to go in with other people to buy land. But if you are, let's say, 6 people who want to go with this, you would be violating a law. You'd have to either get an exemption or you'd have to pay a fee. And on the one hand, we really support this law because it's actually making sure that farmland stays in farmers' hands and not in hedge funds. But on the other hand, it's a very Eurocentric way of thinking about farming, where farming is handed down. Right? And that's awesome if you've always had access to land. But if you're a beginning farmer whose family does not farm, or you were like an immigrant farmer, then this law actually can prohibit you from getting access to capital. And so we had a really hard time finding land. And it wasn't until we met, this is a true story, we met this Jesuit priest. And he said, oh, I work with these people who are anonymous, and they're willing to buy land for you guys in the short term, but they want you to sign a contract so that you will eventually buy the land. So they'll act like a benefactor, patient capital, and each year you have to pay them a rent. But after the 8th year of your lease, you have to start raising money to buy the land, because the only reason why they're buying this land is so they can sell it back to you. And so that farm that you're talking about, that farm was purchased for us by a benefactor. Each year we're paying rent on it, and right now we're raising money to buy that land from ourselves. And this is a person we don't know anything about. We only know that it's a woman. We know that she made all her money in the tech industry. We know that she's somewhere from California. We've never met her. And literally, I had to go in front of the commissioner of the Department of Agriculture and try to get this exemption. And he's like, so who is she? And I was like, I can't tell you. He's like, where is she from? I'm like, I can't tell you. It was a very awkward conversation. But luckily, we got the exemption. So yeah, that's the story of our farm.
So on the topic of, I'm a community member from the Eastern Market. So on the topic of you have to make the personal political, in the state of Michigan, agribusiness is the second economic driver in our state. We have the second most diverse agriculture next to California. We actually have a governor that's Democratic, And ag is nowhere on anybody's agenda in our state. So I was wondering, like, what your experience has been lobbying or working within Minnesota for favorable farm policies to even raise attention in your own state.
Sure. And before I answer that, can I just say, like, she's not just associated with the Eastern Market. This is the woman who's carried the Eastern Market. Eastern Market, when I go there, I feel like so jealous of you all. And so I want to thank you for all the work that you've been doing. And actually, I want to answer the question, but I want you to share what you've been doing, because I think that's really powerful too. So to step back a little bit, I think that there is a bifurcation that's happening in agriculture, right? And for whatever reason, one track of agriculture is getting bigger and bigger. This track of agriculture is talking, and they're not bad people. I mean, most of these people are just trying to make a living, right? They believe that what they're growing and the way that they're growing it is to feed the world, right? And so this is conventional farmers going bigger. And in many ways, they are victims of the same system. Because my farmers, at least on an acre, on a bad year, they'll make maybe $5,000 in sales per acre. These farmers are getting only $500 an acre. And that's why they're trying to get more land, and that's why the small farmers are totally gone. It's these large agro businesses, right? 5,000 acres are the only ones that are able to survive. And so I think this bifurcation is happening where we have those type of farmers, and then we have the other folks, maybe even folks in this room, who are like, I want to learn how to grow my own food, and not only just like growing my own food, I want to try that lifestyle. Because farming is a lifestyle, right? Of folks who are farming here, it's a way of being. There's no Saturday or Sunday off when you're farming, right? There's no like punch in and punch out time. And so I think these things are happening. And I think that this is what people are used to, right? This type of conventional farming. And so when you go and lobby, whether it's in DC or in our state legislature, this is what people are hearing. They're hearing from the soybean growers, they're hearing from the milk producers, they're hearing from, the Cattlemen Association, right? Because many of us, like, we are just trying to do our 1 acre, 5 acre plots, and because we're not necessarily mechanized like they are, we don't even have time to go in and come together, right? And I think the places like the Farmers Union, Land Stewardship Project, we have one in Minnesota. I don't know if you guys have a comparable organization, but they're trying to organize farmers. But for the truth of it is that the way that we're farming is bounding us from actually having time to organize, right? And so I think before we can even go to like the state capitals and lobby for ourselves, we actually have to see the value of stepping back a little bit, creating time to meet with other people and build our power, right? I talked to you guys about how we really believe at HAFEZ that we will never make the lives of our farmers better if we don't talk about power. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to articulate, we have to see that the reason why there is this disparity and this bifurcation is because we do not have power. Why is it that people are obese? That, even my own farmers are low income and can qualify for SNAPs. It doesn't make any sense. And they're working like 10-hour days because the system is broken. So we have to say, why is the system is broken? It's broken because there's disparity of power. We have to realign that power. And that first comes with us creating our self-consciousness, right? And then when that happens, I think we have to organize. And I also think that when we go then eventually to the state legislatures, we also have to show our power. And that's why for me, it's about voting, because these people, when I studied politics in college, I remembered this book by David Mayhew. And he said the driving self-interest of politicians are to get reelected. So we don't say, when we're individual farmers and we go and say, oh, please pass this law and give us 2 more cents on farm to school lunches, right? And they're like, whatever. And then the Soybean Growers Association, they're like, we have, 50,000 farmers. And they're like, okay, we'll listen to you. And so I think we need to somehow show our power, right? Whether it's an individual, we're saying, these are all the people that are in my district that are voting, or when we join these organizations, we're saying, this is what we bring to the table. I think we have to organize, number one. And then I also think that we have to organize around the things that are common to us. So our farmers are working really deeply for sustainable agriculture, but that also means that, sometimes they're using pesticides because we are in a very short growing season. And so sometimes they're using synthetic pesticides to take care of the potatoes, right, because of the Colorado beetle. So are we then in conflict with an organic farmer? No, because 99% of the time we are together. But 1% there's a difference. Let's organize for the common and not necessarily on the fringes, right? And I think that's a little bit of a mindset that we have to do. But I think most importantly, though, we have to articulate. I think we have to be conscious. We have to be intentional about shifting power. But what about you? What do you think? No, seriously, yeah.
This is your show.
No, but you have done a lot to make the Eastern market like so successful.
You know, we're just trying to make the market an economically democratic place for not only farmers but for food businesses as well, and we try to remove barriers to participating in the food system the best way we can. But still, you know, even though we look, you know, I have been on a personal mission actually to find a Hmong farmer because we lost the one that we had. The family moved to Georgia, and you know, I am like stalking the Northville farmers market. So if anybody knows that Hmong farmer in Northville, tell them we need them at Eastern Market. No, but I mean, when it goes to a deeper system, the fact that so many people of color have been dispossessed of their land, not only in the city of Detroit, but you know, throughout the country, you know, to create policies or to, you know, make pathways into the market for a group of people that really are on the fringes and are hard to find because of this system that we've had. It's like, you know, we're just trying to do the best we can to support the folks that are out there and to do those things. So, but I appreciate your talk, and you know, and we're frustrated too because our own state, again, such an ag state, you know, it's a disappointment to me that our governor doesn't have it on her agenda at all. And, you know, I think too is that our pathway into politics has been Farm Bureau, and Farm Bureau has typically been more a conservative party that has supported big ag in our state. But I do know that those folks do want to connect with the smaller farmer and change policy there. But the small farmer who's more of a liberal farmer needs to get over the fact that State Farm has been traditionally conservative but that's where farm policy happens, and we just need to get over that and participate into the political system. The small, you know, like you said, create time, get together, motivate, dial into the systems that are there and try to work them to their benefit to the best. And I was just wondering if that's what you guys have to do in the state of Minnesota as well.
That's exactly it, and that's actually why we've been such a strong proponent of cooperatives and reimagining the way that we own land. So does someone really have to own 100 acres, right? And even actually for many of the beginning farmers, is that even what they want? Right? A lot of people are like, I know I can't do 100 acres. You know, I'm going to do only 5 or 10. And so if that is the case, how do we think about the traditional ways of thinking about agriculture? If we had a land cooperative, so everybody could pay a share into the land cooperative and then grow that land, right? Or even equipment cooperatives. So, you know, if you know they're going to plant potatoes, but you can't afford it, or a wash line. Like one of the great things about HAFEZ is that we have this wash line, which is like this rinky-dinky machine, and you put all your potatoes in and all this stuff, and it goes to this machine and it gets washed. And it takes maybe about like 10, 15 minutes for you to wash your potatoes, where in the past, it would take like 3 hours, right? But this was only possible because this machine cost $23,000. No one would have been able to afford that, but we came together and we got that started, right? Or even our truck, you know, so we have this refrigerated truck, and, you know, for a lot of schools, like, we really believe in farm to school, even though they barely pay like the break even, but we believe in them. But for many individual farmers, you can never access that market because the schools especially are dealing with vulnerable populations. So when you drop off the food, they will check, is it 40 degrees? And if it's not, they will reject that produce, right? Well, if you don't have a refrigerated truck, that is going to be a problem. But refrigerated truck costs like $80,000. So if I'm going to pursue farm-to-school contracts, which are like maybe $500, how could I even get them if I don't have this infrastructure, this equipment, right? But we've been able to overcome that because a bunch of farmers now are buying into it, and so we just long-term lease this refrigerated truck. And so I think not just from the social perspective, because we need each other and learn from each other, but truly from the economic perspective, we have to investigate different economic models, different economic business models. And I think cooperatives are really, you know, meaningful future. They have a meaningful future.
We have a question up here.
Yeah.
Hi. Thanks so much for coming. Really appreciate it. I'm a PhD student, and, you know, your discussion about the Eastern Market and also in Twin Cities, I was wondering if you could comment on access to food retailers and if you've had any barriers with that, or And maybe not just for the Hafa Farm, but also Hmong community in general.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's enough of a supply that now, we need more retail outlets besides the farmers market? Is the farmers market the only sustainable retail outlet? And again, I know you kind of touched on this.
That is such a good question. And I think that if you asked me that question even like 5 years ago, I'd probably have a different answer than I have now, right? So my answer now is that from an economic perspective, farmers make the most money off of CSAs, right? Where they have a direct relationship with the customer. And then on top of just that economic, they have this relationship, a kinship with that customer. So if they say, I know you bought a spring share, but we just had a storm, I'm gonna have to delay the spring share two weeks before it gets started, the customer understands that, right? So that's really deep. And in terms of the profit margin, that's the best. After that, it's the farmers markets, where again, it's a more direct relationship with the customer. You bring your produce there, and then maybe at the end of the day, you don't wanna bring a bunch of potatoes back with you, so you can negotiate. So the farmer is in control of that price and of those dynamics. But one of the drawbacks about the farmer's market is that you're bringing all this stuff with you and you don't have a guarantee if it's going to sell or not. And so it's raining and no one comes, you have just lost all that produce, right? So that is one of the drawbacks. The second thing is to go to natural food co-ops. And I think because of the very nature of and the values that kind of spurred the natural food co-ops, we've had very good relationships with them where we will negotiate a price that is still livable for us, and they think that when they do their markups, and they often do 30, 40, sometimes even 50% markup, it's still attractive to their customers. And also their customers, like I'm a co-op member, I know that I'm using my dollars to align with my values, right? So they understand that a little bit. So we've found that that is productive. If you're asking whether do we make money at all if we go to the large grocery stores, like in Minnesota, we have like Cub Foods or Super Values, or even let's say Target or Whole Foods. What we have discovered is of two minds. One is that those markets are amazing if you can get them and if you can keep them, right? So we were approached by Whole Foods to say, hey, we would love to buy your produce. We believe in your cause. Like, we feel like there's an alignment, and that's awesome. But they're like, we need these produce, and we also need all these type of certifications, and you need to bring it to this place that's going to cost you, 4 times the amount that you're currently, providing for your transportation. And on top of that, it's not a guarantee. And so I think if I was like a farmer and I had 500 acres and all I was doing was potatoes, I think I would want to go to Whole Foods because I could make that investment to align with that market. But if I'm only 5 acres, and even with my, 10 other friends, economically, a contract like Whole Foods is not feasible. But and Whole Foods is like the good guy in this scenario, right? There are some other retailers who are like, listen, we want your potatoes at 20 cents. And we're like, we can't even get seeds at 20 cents. How can we sell you our potatoes for 20 cents? And so for them, the values, it's just the bottom line. And for those people, we just don't interact because it's just a waste of a conversation. Yeah.
I'm Alex, a student in urban planning. How do you think the U.S. refugee resettlement program could better serve those that arrive in the U.S. with rural and agricultural experiences?
Could you say the second part of the?
How do you think that the U.S. refugee resettlement program could better serve those that arrive in the U.S. with agricultural and rural experiences?
Oh, sure. That's a really good question. So when we were doing these VegRx, right, and we had these families, and we said part of the VegRx program is that for these families, we want them to come to the farm. And I remember the very first year we had this young woman, she was Karen, no, sorry, she was Nepalese, but she was from Burma, but she was actually Nepalese. And she was like just amazed at how big the land was. And I was like, trying to, okay, so we're going to go to the farm now, we're going to do the other one. She's like, oh, wait. And I was like, oh, we got to hurry up. And she's like, I can't believe there's so much land. And I was like, oh, did you have a farm where you grew up? And she's like, yeah, we lived on a farm. But, that was when I was very young. And since then, I was always in the refugee camps. And then I live in the city now, and our family's too poor. We don't have a car. So everywhere I go, it's just a bus. So all I see are other houses. And so this idea that this land was so vast, it blew her away, and it really humbled me because I thought, oh gosh, I'm so privileged. I didn't even think about that. So yes, I think that they can always serve refugee and new immigrants better, in some of the ways are to be open to the idea that people are coming with actually really healthy food traditions, right? Like many refugees are coming with places where they had to cook their own food or grow their own food. So actually, they're eating their diet is much healthier than the typical American diet. We actually have a really strong relationship with our Head Start, and they say that it's really interesting in St. Paul. They always have a large immigrant population, and they can tell if a family is first generation or second generation by the medical charts of the kids, because most of the first generation kids actually are really healthy, and then by the second generation, they're just eating the typical American diet, right? So yes, I think we as administrators can be more open to different ways that people are eating and open to the idea that they actually might know more than we do. And I also think, and this goes back to your question, we have to invest in different or alternative models of how food gets to people. So maybe it's through the VegRx box, or they go to the health clinic. Right now, this year, HAFEZ is piloting a daycare center, because the majority of our kids in our community are in-home daycare centers, right? So these are still licensed daycares, but they're not like the huge daycare centers. So they might only have 5 or 6 kids in that household or in that house. And most of the time, it's a woman who's running that daycare center, because this is her family business. And so we're trying to invest in those models to say, if we're really talking about taking these things to scale, then let's not necessarily go to the large schools, even though that's really important. But what about all these different daycare centers where the majority of poor or low income or food insecure kids are going to, and try to get nutrition there? So I think we have to be creative, and we have to accept that we may not be the expert.
Okay, please join me in thanking Taku again for this wonderful.
Thanks.
Also want to thank our friends in Kalamazoo for tuning in. And for the next few sessions, if you have any questions for our speakers, please let the organizers know, and we'll make sure that we can ask them on your behalf. So next week, join us for Rob Lustig, who's coming from the University of California, San Francisco. His talk is called Corporate Wealth or Public Health.